2 Samuel chapter 18. And David numbered all the people with him, and placed over them commanders of thousands, and commanders of hundreds. And David sent away the people, the third under the hand of Joab, and the third under the hand of Abishai the son of Zeruiah, brother of Joab, and the third under the hand of Ittai the Gittite. And the king said to the people, In going forth I shall go forth, even indeed I myself with you. And the people said, You shall not go forth, for if we should flee into exile, they shall not put upon us to heart. And if half of us should die, they shall not put upon us to heart. For you are as 10,000 of us. And now it is good that you will be with us in the city for our helper. And the king said to them, The pleasing thing before you I will do. And the king stood by the side of the gate, and all the people went forth by hundreds and by thousands. And the king gave charge to Joab and to Abishai and to Ittai, saying, Spare for me the young man Absalom. And all the people heard the king giving charge to all the rulers concerning Absalom. And all the people went forth into the field for meeting Israel. And the battle happened in the grove of Ephraim. And the people of Israel failed there before the children of David. And there became a great devastation in that day, 20,000 men. And it came to pass there the war dispersed over the face of all the land, and the forest was superabundant in devouring from out of the people above what the sword devoured among the people in that day. And Absalom met before the servants of David, and Absalom was mounted upon the mule, and the mule was entering under the thicket of the great oak, and his head was twisted in the oak, and he hung between the heaven and between the earth, and the mule underneath him went on. And one man saw it, and announced to Joab, and said, Behold, I have seen Absalom hanging in the oak. And Joab said to the man announcing to him, And behold, you saw it, and why is it that you did not strike him there to the ground? And I would have given to you 10 shekels of silver, and 1 sash. And the man said to Joab, And if you rendered unto my hands 1,000 shekels of silver, not in any way shall I put my hand against the son of the king. For in our ears the king gave charge to you, and to Abishai, and to Ittai, saying, Guard for me the young man Absalom, to not do anything unjust against his life. And all the matter will not be kept unaware from the king, and you shall set yourself right opposite me. And Joab said, This I begin, not thus shall I remain before you. And Joab took 3 arrows in his hand, and he stuck them in the heart of Absalom while yet he was living, in the heart of the oak. And there encircled 10 young men lifting the weapons of Joab, and they struck Absalom and killed him. And Joab trumped with the trumpet, and the people returned to not pursue after Israel, for Joab spared the people. And Joab took Absalom, and he tossed him into a great chasm in the grove, into the great pit, and set over him a heap of exceedingly great stones. And all Israel fled each to his tent. And Absalom, yet living, took and set for himself a monument in the valley of the king, for he said, There is not to me a son who shall record my name. And he called the monument by his name, and he called it Hand of Absalom, until this day. And Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, said, "Running indeed, I will announce good news to the king, that the Lord passed judgment to him from out of the hand of his enemies." And Joab said to him, "You are not a man of good news in this day, but you shall announce good news in another day. But in this day you shall not announce good news, for a son of the king has died." And Joab said to Cushi, "Go, announce to the king what you have seen." And Cushi did obeisance to Joab, and ran. And Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, added still, and said to Joab, "Also let it be that I run also indeed myself after Cushi." And Joab said, "Why do you run, my son? There is not good news to you for benefit in going." And Ahimaaz said, "For what if I shall run?" And Joab said to him, "Run." And Ahimaaz ran by the way of Kechar, and he surpassed Cushi. And David was sitting between the two gates. And the watchman went onto the roof of the gatehouse unto the wall. And he lifted his eyes and saw, and behold, a man was running alone before him. And the watchman yelled out and reported to the king. And the king said, "If he is alone, good news is in his mouth." And he went along, coming and approaching. And the watchman saw another man running. And the watchman yelled out at the gate and said, "Behold, another man is running alone." And the king said, "Also this one is announcing good news." And the watchman said, "I see the racing of the first as the racing of Ahimaaz, son of Zadok." And the king said, "This is a good man, and indeed for good news he shall come." And Ahimaaz yelled and said to the king, "Peace!" And he did obeisance to the king upon his face upon the ground. And he said, "Blessed be the Lord your God, who shut up the men lifting their hand against my master the king." And the king said, "Is there peace to the young man Absalom?" And Ahimaaz said, "I saw the great multitude being gladdened in the sending Joab the servant of the king, and your bondmen, and I do not know what happened there." And the king said, "Turn aside and stand by here." And he turned aside and stood. And behold, Cushi came. And Cushi said to the king, "Let there be good news announced, O my master the king. For the Lord passed judgment for you today from out of the hand of all the ones rousing against you." And the king said to Cushi, "How is the peace to the young man Absalom?" And Cushi said, "Let be as that young man the enemies of my master the king, and all as many as rise up against you for evils." And the king was disturbed, and ascended into the upper room of the gate, and wept. And so he said as he wept, "O my son Absalom! O my son! O my son Absalom! What might my death give instead of you? I instead of you, Absalom! O my son! O my son!"